Good. Okay, so let's move on to this. There we go. So now we have this example. Okay, again, this comes from the textbook. Okay. So basically what I'm telling you here is that the cost of tuition at a college in 1995, what is the college? I don't know, but that doesn't matter. It was this. And in 2000, it went up to this amount. So we want to get the rate of change of the cost of tuition. Well, again, for the rate of change, right, what do? Well, it's basically like calculating a slope. In year 1995, which is when things start in this problem, that would be our initial time period. In year 2000 would be our second time period. So in other words, our X value or input would be time. I mean, what I did was I made it so that it was the number of years since 1995. But you could just say, you could just have the initial time as the year 95 if you wanted to. And our output would be the tuition cost, which is this amount. I know what I just said before, that when you see something like per, you think rate of change, but reading the context of the problem, you should be able to see this is not rate of change. This is actually, tuition, so to say. Okay, so we want the rate of change. Okay, well, again, our input would be time. Okay, you can kind of get that from the problem. In 1 year, this happens. In another year, that happens. And here, the output would be the tuition costs. I mean, I did throw in this notation if we think of f of x as our tuition cost, and I said let x be the number of years since 1995. And by using that notation, we can think of this as calculating a slope. In other words, we have the tuition cost 5 years after 1995 minus the tuition cost in 1995. So I'm taking this year to be year 0 over the change in time. And that's what this is. Okay. So in other words, we have change in the output. Our output is tuition costs, right? Divided by our change in time, which is 5 years. So it's 65 over 5, which is $13 per credit hour per year since 1995. Again, you could have set the input to be, 1995 is times 0, but the difference in the bottom you would still have is 5. Okay, that's good. Now, part B of the question is not listed, but now it is. We want to write a formula for the cost of tuition. Well, again, we have a linear function because we have rate of change. And since we have our rate of change, we're basically done because we also know our initial cost. So in other words, we're going to have our function in this form, mx plus b. M is our rate of change, b is the initial value. Well, based on the problem, our initial value, our b, would be the $170 per credit hour. M we just calculated, so we get this. No, we don't get that. We get this. There we go. So again, f of x, our output, is tuition cost per credit hour. X, I'm taking that to be the number of years since 1995. So that's what I'm doing. So, I mean, I'm not too sure off the top of my head if you set x to be the number of, if you set x to be, how do I say this, the year, and if starting time was 1995, if there would have to be a change in this formula, because you want 0 to correspond to this value. That's our initial time period. So I hope this makes sense what I'm trying to say. So, you know what? Hold on. actually. Okay, so let me ask.